So you want to start making content as a VTuber. However, one problem.
I don't want a 3D model! I want a live 2D model! I think 3D models are ugly, and also they're too heavy for my computer to run. They take up too many resources. I don't like 3D. It's ugly. I can't make my model look like how I want it, or I don't really care what my...
Then, after looking around, you might realize that compared to the 3D space where apps such as Vroid are available, there's not that much free or affordable way to get a custom 2D model. Worry not. Today, we will learn how to make a custom 2D model for free with the help of Mannequin Character Generator and Puppetstring VTuber tracking. Both apps utilize Inochi 2D, which is like Live 2D but open source. Let's start. First, let's get Puppetstring VTuber tracking and play around with its example models to learn what we can do with it. Puppetstring can be obtained via itch.io or Steam. Once we're done downloading, let's open it and scroll down to the Example Models section. Let's choose the default pose. Let's adjust the window position for better viewing. As for the model itself, we can click and drag to move, or click, hold, and scroll up or down to zoom. Now that the model is open, it's time to enable some tracking. To do this, click the icons available on the left side. Let's set up the first one, which is camera tracking. Enable this tracker by making sure the toggle up top is on. Then choose our preferred webcam from the drop-down menu. As we can see, now our model is moving around. Now let's configure this tracker more. First is the FPS target. Lowering this will reduce the CPU usage at the cost of less smooth tracking. Continuing downward, we can find the button for calibrating our head position. Depending on our webcam and sitting position, the default tracking data provided by the tracker can be misaligned. For example, my webcam is placed quite high, so my face is always tracked as looking down even though I'm looking straight forward at my monitor. To fix this, click the Calibrate Head Position button and stay still in our preferred neutral position for 3 seconds. Now the model is not permanently looking down anymore. Let's move to the next section, which is tuning. First, we can adjust the tracker sensitivity to produce more accurate or even exaggerated results. For example, currently the model can't seem to follow my blinking correctly, so let's try to raise the eye blink sensitivity. Now it's all good. Let's go further downward and check default expression. With these parameters, we can adjust the default expression to improve our acting performance. For example, let's adjust the mouth smile frown value. We can see that by setting this to a positive number, our model is now permanently smiling. Going further downward, we can see the auto-tune section. In this section, we can enable sync eye blink to make sure both eyes are blinking more uniformly, and snap eye blink to make sure blinking motion are less jittery with the eyes properly snapped shut. The synchronization strength of eye blink can be configured in the available fields. The minimum synchronization strength is applied when we are looking straight forward, and the maximum strength is applied when we are turning our head left or right. Let's go further and check out additional expression features. In this section, we can set up some facial expression effects such as sparkly eyes, shadowy or gloomy face, and so on. To do this, click Add More and choose what expression feature to use. For example, let's choose Eye Sparkle, then click OK. Now, we can surely see some sparkle in those eyes. Finally, we arrive at the last part of camera tracking configuration, which is tracking lost behavior. Here we can choose what to do when tracking is lost, either freeze or go back to neutral position. Let's try by moving our face outside the frame. We can see that our model is now stuck in a random position based on the last data obtained by the tracker. If we change the behavior to return to normal position and go outside the frame again, the model will now go back to an upright position. Is that all for camera tracking? Well, there's still more! Let's try to set up expression toggles now. For example, let's assume that currently we are setting up our neutral expression. We can rename the current camera tracking profile to reflect this by going back to top, clicking the three-dot icon and choosing Rename Current Profile. Now that we have done renaming, let's return all default expression values to 0. Then, in the Additional Expression Features section, let's add eye sparkle, heart, gloom, and tears. Continue by adding face blush and gloom. Once we're done, set all values to 0 since we won't use these in our neutral expression. We will, however, set up another expression. To do this, back to the top, click the three-dot icon and choose New Profile. We will set up an angry expression now, so let's give it that name. Continue by choosing the same camera and FPS target as before. In the tuning part, let's click the three-dot icon at each section and choose Copy Settings from Neutral. After we're done copying, let's set up an angrier look by adjusting the brow and mouth default expression to negative value. In the Additional Expression Features section, let's set up eye gloom and face gloom to 100, and voila, we're done! Now we can switch between these expressions by clicking the three-dot icon up top and choosing the one we want. Let's go further beyond neutral and angry by adding more expressions, such as happy, lovey-dovey, and sad. For happy expression, set eye sparkle in the Additional Expression Features section to 100%. Continue with lovey-dovey expression. For this one, set both face blush and eye heart to 100%. Finally, let's add sad expression as the last one. For this, set face blush to 50% and eye tears to 100%. There you go! Now we have 5 switchable expressions at our disposal. At this point, you might realize that switching these expressions via the drop-down menu can be very cumbersome for live sessions. Worry not, later we will learn more about how to switch these via keyboard shortcuts. Let's go to the next tracker, which is microphone. Unfortunately, this part is not fully developed yet, so we only have volume-based tracking for now. Enable this tracker by making sure the toggle up top is on, then choose our preferred microphone from the drop-down menu. Afterwards, we can map the volume of our microphone input to mouth open by adjusting the minimum and maximum value. Increase the minimum value to prevent background noise from moving the mouth, and reduce the maximum value if our talking volume does not trigger the tracking enough. Let's move to the next tracker, which is display color. By using this, we can enable some lighting effects to our model, simulating reflection from monitor screen. Enable this tracker by making sure the toggle up top is on. Then choose our preferred source from the drop-down menu. We can choose either an entire screen or a specific application window. Increasing the tracking FPS will provide smoother tracking at the cost of more CPU usage and vice versa. In the tuning section, we can adjust the minimum and maximum luminosity level. Raising the minimum value will prevent our model from going full black, and reducing the maximum value will make our model brighter at the same luminosity level. Next, let's check out the mouse pointer tracker. Using this tracker, we can simulate head movement as an alternative to the camera tracker. Enable this by making sure the toggle up top is on, then choose our preferred source monitor from the drop-down menu. We can adjust the center point, which determines at which position no head movement is produced by the tracker, by adjusting the X and Y values. Let's go to the gamepad tracker next. However, since our current model does not have a gamepad, we have to switch to the Let's Play variant of our model first. Now that our model has a gamepad to receive tracking data, let's enable gamepad tracking by making sure the toggle up top is on. By default, the tracker will automatically select the first gamepad connected to our system. However, we can still choose which gamepad to track manually by using the drop-down menu. Depending on our gamepad type, sometimes leaving Puppetstring's window out of focus will cause gamepad tracking to be lost. If this is happening, enable Use Alternative Tracking Method to fix the issue. Finally, we have arrived at the last tracker, which is keyboard control. Enable this by making sure the toggle up top is on. Afterwards, we can define a new key combination and associate a function to it. To do this, click Add Keystroke. We can set whether Control, Shift, or Alt needs to be pressed by clicking on the available toggles. Then, we can choose what key to use by clicking the key field and pressing our desired key. We can choose various clothing toggles from the drop-down menu. Keep in mind that these options will depend on our current model. For example, using an outerwear toggle will do nothing if the current model does not have any outerwear. Other than clothing toggles, we can also associate different functions with our key combination by choosing from the topmost drop-down menu. For example, we can use Profile Switch to switch between multiple expressions that we have made in the camera tracking configuration earlier. Now that we have learned about how to configure each tracker, it's time to display our model in Open Broadcaster Software, or OBS. To do this, we have two alternatives. First is using Game Capture Source. Configure this source by switching to Capture Specific Window mode, then choosing Puppetstring Model Viewer as the target window. To display our model with transparent background, make sure to check Allow Transparency and Pre-Multiplied Alpha. When using Game Capture Source, keep in mind that minimizing Puppetstring Model Viewer window will freeze your model. A better alternative to Game Capture Source is Spout 2 plugin, which requires us to install first before using it. We can download the installer of this plugin from GitHub. After installing, we can now choose Spout 2 Capture Source in OBS. Make sure to choose Pre-Multiplied Alpha in the Composite Mode drop-down menu to show our model with transparent background. Now that we have mastered Puppetstring, it's time to say goodbye to the example models and make our own custom one with Mannequin Character Generator. First, let's download the free or demo version of Mannequin from itch.io or Steam. Once we're done downloading, open the app and create a new character. Let's keep everything default for this exercise and make sure that VTuber model is chosen as export target. Okay, now we can start customizing. We can explore the available customization options by clicking the icons available on the left side. First, let's navigate to the body sidebar by clicking the human icon. Here we can change the head shape or ear shape by clicking the folder icon, then choosing one from the available options that shows up. Afterwards, we can change various body part sizes such as chest, arm, thigh, and calf. We can also adjust the overall scale, head scale, and head or ear height. Just like head or ear, we can change pose by choosing from one of the available templates. Moreover, we can also adjust the positioning of our character and change our character's skin color by using the color picker. Now, let's change our character face by clicking the smiley face icon. Here we can change brow, eye, nose, and mouth template by clicking the folder icon at the right side of the corresponding face part template name and choosing one from the available options that shows up. We can also adjust the positioning of these parts and recolor them. There are a lot of parts that we can recolor in this section, such as eyelash, iris, sclera, lip, and inner mouth. After done with the face, now let's change our character hairstyle by clicking the scissor icon. Same as before, here we can change our character's primary hairstyle, bangs, wisps, and facial hair by clicking the folder icon and choosing one from the available options. Let's try to change both primary hairstyle template and bangs template. After we're done, let's continue by adjusting the colors. Each part can be recolored independently. However, we can also make them uniform by clicking the three-dot icon at the right side of Color section header and choosing Apply Color to Current Hairstyle. We can also add hair accessories and additional hair parts such as cowlick or animal ears by clicking Add Item button at the Additional Hair Parts or Accessories section. Choose from any of the available options and it will be added to our character. Finally, let's change our character clothing by clicking the t-shirt icon. Here we can add new clothing item to our character by clicking Add Item and choosing any of the templates that shows up. We can also remove existing items by clicking Remove or change their color by using their respective color picker fields. Little tip, we can use the search bar when browsing for templates to save some time. Once we're done, it's time to export our character to an Inochi 2D model file. Navigate to the Export sidebar by clicking the camera icon. Make sure Inochi Creator is chosen as the file format. Next, we can adjust the model resolution by going to the Dimensions section and changing the scale. Bigger resolution gives a sharper image, especially when zoomed in, but it's going to take more GPU memory. Lastly, let's check the Rigged Output section. Here we can do some final checks to determine whether we will get a fully rigged model as an output. If everything is green and the last message says, "Your Inochi 2D output file will be fully rigged," then we're good to go. Let's click Export and wait. Once the process is complete, let's open our exported file in Puppetstring. We now have our custom model ready for streaming. Let's play around to make sure everything works with our newly exported model. Time to recheck with the camera tracking, and oh no! We have set up multiple expressions earlier when trying out the example models, but looks like this model does not properly support it. Time to go back to Mannequin and fix this issue. To add various effects like the eye sparkle or face gloom, we'll have to go back to the expression sidebar by clicking the smiley face icon. Here, we can add new additional face parts by clicking the Add Item button. Let's add what we need. Cheek blush, eye heart, eye sparkle, face blush, face gloom, and eye tears. Just a reminder, we can also recolor some of these templates. Once we're done, let's export our character again and open it in Puppetstring. Time to make sure that our expression toggles are working properly now. And looks like they do. By now, we have already learned about how to use Puppetstring for VTubing and how to use Mannequin to design our own custom model. So, in the last part of this video, we will learn various additional tips and tricks that we can use. First is using our smartphone as a replacement for webcam. To do this, click the device selection drop-down menu in the camera tracking configuration section and look at the bottom of the list. Here we can choose either Meowface for Android or VTube Studio for Android and iOS as a tracking data provider for Puppetstring. Each app has a different way to connect, so follow the on-screen guide that shows up after choosing any of these options. The second tip is using oversized canvas to record high-resolution, full-body view of our model. This can be useful when making materials for video editing. To do this, set up our preferred canvas resolution before opening our model. Depending on the size, our entire screen might get covered up, so use Windows +Tab keyboard shortcut to switch between apps. Make sure to use Spout 2 Capture to be able to record the entire canvas properly. The third tip is using developer or rigger tools to customize our model's movement. To do this, open the tracking window in Puppetstring Model Viewer. If the top menu doesn't show up, double-click anywhere on the screen first. Before making any adjustments, click Refresh at the top of the tracking window to make sure that we are working with the latest data. Afterwards, we can adjust each parameter to suit our needs. For example, by default, the movement of body yaw and head yaw is opposed to each other. This is a creative choice, which may or may not be to our taste. We can uncheck the inverse checkbox in the body yaw section to make head and body yaw move in the same direction. After we're done customizing, go back to the top of tracking window and click Save to File. This way, our changes will be saved and kept the next time we open our model in Puppetstring again. The fourth tip is making karaoke, and let's play variation of our model with microphone and gamepad for each respective pose. Let's do karaoke first. To do this, change the pose of our character to one of the holding tube variations. Afterwards, go to the clothing menu, then add microphone, which can be found in the accessories category. Now we can export this just like earlier in this video. For the Let's Play variation, we can change our character pose to holding gamepad. Then, just like before, go to the clothing menu and browse the accessories section for gamepad. Since we have changed pose to one that is now not compatible with the microphone template, a warning dialog will show up. We can ignore this by clicking No. Ready for export. The fifth tip is troubleshooting Spout 2 input in OBS if our character is not showing up. Usually this happens if we have more than one GPU. For example, the integrated Intel one plus the discrete NVIDIA or AMD. To fix this, go to Windows Settings, then search for Graphics Settings. In the Add an App section, choose Desktop App and click Browse. Find the executable of both OBS and Puppetstring Model Viewer to add those into the list. Afterwards, make sure both OBS and Puppetstring Model Viewer are using the same GPU by clicking Options in each entry and choosing our desired GPU. For most users, we recommend choosing the High Performance option for these settings. Finally, as the last tip for this video, let's try to optimize for lighter system resource consumption. If we have a lower-end system or planning to stream a very heavy game, we can reduce the tracking FPS target to 15. However, as we can see, the movement now becomes quite choppy. To fix this, let's go back to Mannequin and set dampening or smoothing to a higher value. Export our character again, and even though the movement is still less responsive compared to when using higher tracking FPS target, it has now become smoother. That's all for this video. Quite a lot, wasn't it? However, by now you might notice that there are still things that we don't have yet, such as hand tracking or YouTube and Twitch integration. For that, stay tuned for our future videos, which will come as the development of both Mannequin and Puppetstring continues. Subscribe to this channel to keep updated. Until next time!